what if we do not want to try and catch the exception within a particular method? Okay, so what we can do is tell the method that we are not going to do a try catch, but please pass the exception to the caller. Alright? So you must somehow acknowledge to the system that you know that you're not going to be dealing with the exception in this current method. Alright? For example, I may write a method create here, and in this method, an exception takes place. In this case, I detect some condition and I generate an exception myself. Okay, using the throw command. Okay, so normally, if an exception takes place, and if it's an exception that needs to be detected at compile time, then you will have to write try and catch block surrounding it. Otherwise, the program will not compile. Alright, since the system requires you to deal with the exception if it's a checked exception. So, but in this particular example, I don't want to be writing try catch block inside the method greet. Okay? So what I can do is I want to relieve the task of writing try catch block to the caller of method greet instead. So what I can do is I can write a throw with an S, okay? A throw with an S at the head of the method. So it tells the compiler that this method greet may generate a class not found exception, but I am not going to deal with it here. I'm going to let the caller write the exception handler instead. Okay? So in this case, when the name equals to John, an exception is generated. And defining throws, let the program compile. Alright? So when an exception takes place, so it's generated here, it get passed on the program execution jumped to this point here, alright? Main calls greet, and when greet generate an exception, the exception is passed to the point where greet exit, alright? And now has to be dealt with by the try block inside main. Okay? In this particular case, I also write class not found exception in main. That means the exception will get passed to the Java virtual machine without us having anything to deal with it. Okay? So that means our program, when it encounters the class not found exception, will stop. Alright, so let's try running this one, but it's generating throws, generate class not found exception, and interrupted exception. So both are possible exceptions that can be created in method greet. Okay. But we only try and catch the interrupted exception. Alright? And we do not deal with the exception if it's class not found exception. Okay? So what happened is when interrupted exception is generated during execution, the execution jump out to here, but then try catch will catch this exception object that get passed from greet, and then this catch block will be run. Alright? So the program main here will print by. Okay, let's run this example. Alright, so it just print by. See? Alright? And what if I do not write throw class not found exception here? You see that, well, when I write throws in greet, I define two exception types that can take place in greet. But when I actually write try catch, I write only try catch for interrupted exception. So no code for class not found exception. So if I hide it, like this, the system will not compile because it will recognize that class not found exception, which is defined in greet, has not been dealt with in main. Alright? We declared in greet that we're not handling the class not found exception inside greet, but the caller will have to handle it. So if we do not handle it, in this case, no try block and catch for it, and no throws for it, then the program does not compile. Okay? So I do have to, if I do not write try catch for the class not found exception, I will have to write throws so that the compiler knows that I really intend not to do anything with it and will accept and compile. Okay? Okay, so this is what happened in this example. Alright, and you see that interrupt exception or any exception at all, when we create and generate it ourselves, it is done using the throw command, throwing the created new exception object. Okay? So that's what a throw is, alright? A throw declaration. If we do not want to write try catch for an exception in a method, we write throws for that exception, so that the caller will be the one that has to deal with the exception instead. Okay? And this can be quite useful. Alright? Not in every case, but can be quite useful if you want to write try catch in one place. Alright? You may have one method calling another and so on. And if you don't have this, then for each method, you may have to write try catch within the method. But with throws decoration here, you can leave the try catch into the layer that you want. I try catch in one place.